When people hear the word hypnosis, most think of stage shows, mind control, or barking like a dog. But it's really just your brain in a trance state. The thing you may not know is that your brain already slips into this state a dozen times a day. And when you learn to use that state intentionally, it becomes one of the most effective ways to rewire old patterns and create change that sticks. Today, we're breaking down what hypnosis really is, what happens in your brain when you're in it, and why it's such a powerful tool for communication. Welcome to The Brain Changers, a podcast about learning how to revolutionize the way you think and live by mastering your mind. We're your hosts, mother and daughter duo Rebekah and Yvonne King from Moonbeam Monday. Our goal is to empower you to live the life you choose by teaching you how to retrain your brain. Some people tell us it sounds like mind control, and it is, but not the way you might think. This is about you taking control of your own mind rather than letting your mind control you, so you can choose to live a life free from the expectations of others. No matter what you've experienced in the past, you can create positive change and transformation by learning how to master your mind. We know this because we've done it. Between us, we've survived cancer and stroke and eliminated debilitating anxiety and depression. We've turned our pain into purpose through the power of our mind, and we're now here to support and guide you to do the same. In this podcast, we share valuable insights about how your brain works, why you think, say, and do the things you do, how to begin the process of change, and why it's necessary. Because we know that when you change your mind, you change your life. Thanks for joining us. Let's go. Welcome back to the Brain Changers podcast. My name is Rebekah King.
And I'm Yvonne King. And today we want to clear up some of the myths that surround this whole idea and subject of hypnosis, what it actually is and what it isn't, and why it's actually one of the most powerful tools for creating real change at the unconscious level of your brain.
That's right. Now, first things first, hypnosis is not mind control, right? Somebody else is not controlling your mind. No one can make you do anything against your will. You are always in control. And it's not about silly stage tricks either that we've all seen. Therapeutic hypnosis is very different. It is simply a state of focused, relaxed attention. And you've actually experienced it before. As I mentioned in the teaser of this episode, it's daydreaming, zoning out on a drive. We've all done that, right? We've all rocked up at work and parked the car and gone, oh, did I run a red light getting here? Because we have zoned out. We're on autopilot. It's also, when you get lost in a book or you're totally engrossed in a movie, or also just as you're drifting off to sleep, right? These are all examples of light trance states, and your brain naturally cycles into these trance states about 10 to 15 times a day, which means your brain already knows how to do hypnosis. The difference is when we use it deliberately, rather than just zoning in and out, we can access the unconscious mind, which, if you've been following along with us since we started, you know that that is where your habits, beliefs, identity, where these all live.
Yes, and I don't know how often I've heard it said, I can't be hypnotized. Now, someone said this to me just last week, in actual fact.
Wow.
I can't be hypnotized. I'm not suggestive. I'm not the suggestive type.
Mm.
Well, the truth is, almost everyone can be. Because as you've already said, Beck, the brain already knows how to do it.
Mm.
So if you've ever missed part of a conversation because you were daydreaming, I have to tick that one. Or you pulled into a driveway and barely remembered the journey, I have to tick that one too.
Yep.
You've already been in trance. So hypnosis is just takes the natural state and uses it with intention. So here's the real point of this. The only people who say they can't be hypnotized or can't be hypnotized are actually the ones who refuse to follow along with the process. So I think this raises an important question here, and one I always come back to. Why would you refuse? Why would you refuse something that could help you?
Yeah.
Let's just say, for example, that you're living with chronic pain. Now, we know that a significant proportion of the population lives with chronic pain.
Mm.
We can take painkillers, we can have physio, we can have massage, acupuncture, stretching, meditation apps, the list goes on and on and on. But maybe nothing has worked the way you want it to.
Mm.
We know, and you know, we know that hypnotherapy is a proven way to help people ease or even overcome pain. For example, this is just one thing that it can be very, very beneficial for. So if we're still saying, I don't believe in it, then really what you're saying is, I'd rather live with pain than try something different.
Yeah.
Now, that's okay. That's your choice, of course, but I know what I'd rather do.
Yeah, look, me too. And I know that might sound a little bit harsh, but we're not here to sugarcoat things. We are here to help people. And this is essentially what's happening. We are saying, I don't want to try something different. And I think we all get that, don't we? Change can be difficult. We like our comfort zone. It is called a comfort zone for a reason. It's comfortable. All right. So we get it. Doing something different can be a challenge. But like you said, you know, what would you rather live in pain, or would you like to find a possible solution? I
Mm.
think the thing is, sometimes this isn't even about disbelief, like believing that you can't be hypnotized, for example. Sometimes it's about what we call secondary gain. So that is when deep down there is a hidden benefit to holding on to the problem. Now, stick with me. So, we're going to keep this same example going. If you're in pain, maybe it means that people take care of you. Another example, if you're anxious, maybe it gives you a reason to avoid situations that scare you. And if you keep saying, I can't change, you know, I've been like this my whole life. I am the way that I am. I was born this way. My parents were like this, so I am. Whatever that might be, I can't change. Maybe it means that you don't have to try. That's the secondary gain, you know, because it's easier not to change, isn't it? Those hidden payoffs are what keep people stuck, right? Even when consciously they say they want things to be different. We've all done that. We're both going to put our hands up and say that we want something to be different. But, you know, and we know that it might be better for us or more beneficial, but somehow we choose not to, right? So hypnosis brings those unconscious patterns to the surface so that you can choose, because it is our choice. So the choice is, do you want to keep the hidden benefit, or do you want your freedom back? If you want to stop feeling stuck and start living with real clarity, confidence, and direction, that's exactly what the Life Reset delivers. Clarity about what matters most so you can stop being pulled in 100 directions. Confidence in your decisions so you don't second guess yourself or replay conversations for days afterwards. And calm in your everyday life so that you can focus at work and still switch off when you get home. This program is for high-performing professionals who look like they've got it all together, but on the inside feel drained from overthinking. It's for people who are doing fine, but know they'd be unstoppable if they actually backed themselves. And it's for those who are craving direction, ready to make change, but not quite sure where to start. If you want someone to give you advice and tell you what to do, this is not for you. The Life Reset is for people who are ready to do the work, challenge their thinking, and rewire their brain for results that last. If that sounds like you, book a free connection call with me, Rebekah. The link's in the show notes. And that's why hypnosis is powerful, right? Willpower lives in your conscious mind. We all say that, right? Oh, I just need a little bit more willpower and I can eat better, or I can go to the gym at 6 o'clock 5 days a week, whatever that might be. But willpower lives in your conscious mind. So that's the 5% that analyzes, decides, and tries to control things, right? But 95% of what drives you is unconscious. That's why you can tell yourself, I'm confident 100 times, but if your unconscious still holds on to an old belief, I'm not good enough, that's the one that's going to win, because that's the one in your unconscious mind, and it's your unconscious mind that is running the show, right? Hypnosis bypasses that noisy critic that we all have, and it works directly where change actually happens.
Yes, it's interesting. And the neuroscience explains why, and it explains what's happening in the brain during hypnosis. And it's measurable. We're able to measure this with uh, measuring devices, scans, and that sort of thing. It's visible. So during hypnosis, your brain moves into alpha and theta brainwave states. Now, alpha is calm focus. It's great for creativity and learning. Theta, on the other hand, is where imagination, memory, and our deep patterns live. Remember, we talked about the 5% and the 95%. The 95% is where everything that really drives us comes from. So, theta in your brain doesn't distinguish between imagination and reality. And that's why athletes visualize winning before competing, and why guided imagery can reduce pain in hospital patients. Now, a lot of people sort of might feel that sounds like a big claim, but I think on this podcast many times we've talked about how athletes have been studied, and those that visualize success as opposed to those who train more are the ones that do better. So there's lots of evidence out there to show just how important and how beneficial this is. So your brain wires this as if it's real, and that is what makes the hypnosis such an effective tool for change.
That's right. I'm glad you talked about the athletes, and I love to use that example. It was a group of Soviet athletes back in 1980, I think it was, competing in the New York Winter Olympic Games. And I won't go through the whole example, but essentially the group who physically trained the least but spent the most time visualizing themselves competing and winning the competition, they're the ones that won the most medals. So yeah, we're not just talking about airy fairy fluffy things here. This has been studied. There is evidence to prove it. And I say to anybody also, if you're unsure, give it a try. What have you got to lose? You've actually only got everything to gain. So following on from what you were talking about, if you think of your conscious mind, that's the 5%. So your conscious mind is the pilot of a plane, and your unconscious, the 95%, as the autopilot system, right? That's controlling 95% of the flight. So you could fight with the controls using willpower, or you can go and update the autopilot with hypnosis. right? So that the whole system takes you where you want to go. It means that the pilot can sit back and enjoy the scenery, perhaps.
Yeah, and I think we've all tried to make changes simply using our willpower. And I think if you look back on that, you'll realize that it's not a very effective
No.
um, agent of change. It takes a lot more than willpower often to make those changes, doesn't it?
Yes.
So, so what would a change, what would this look like in real life? What could it actually do for us? Well, as we've spoken before, we know that hypnosis can help people reduce stress, can help us build confidence, break habits, and can soften that inner critic too, which is very desirable, isn't it?
Hmm.
Sometimes the change can feel immediate, other times it can be a bit more subtle. It's like suddenly noticing that you might feel a bit calmer in certain situations that perhaps used to really rattle you, really used to trigger you. Or you might pause before responding instead of spiraling when confronted with certain situations. So it could be sudden, it could be immediate that you see something happen, or it could be something that builds up over time. But either way, that shift can last because it's happening at the unconscious level.
Yes, and there are also different styles of hypnosis. So, for example, direct suggestion, that's the classic one, right? That's the stereotypical, you will feel confident or you will stop smoking. Now, that can work, especially for people who are highly motivated, or you used the word suggestive earlier on, people
Mhm.
who are open to this. It's simple, it's direct, and sometimes that is all it takes, right? But it is not the only way. So we use Ericksonian hypnosis, which is quite different, quite a different approach. Instead of telling your mind what to do, like you will feel confident, you will stop smoking, what it does is it works with metaphors, it works with stories and open-ended suggestions. It's quite a gentle technique, it's more conversational. And again, it bypasses that critical part of the brain that wants to argue back because that's essentially what our conscious mind is doing. It's arguing back, going, yeah, but, right?
Mm.
But if think about it, if someone says to you, don't be anxious, your conscious mind pushes back instantly. It might say, yeah, well, that's easier said than done. Or, yeah, but you don't know what I'm going through. It could be any of those. But if you hear a story about someone finding calm in a storm, your unconscious starts to imagine what that world would feel like for you. And in that moment, the idea lands without resistance. You're suddenly putting yourself in that particular scenario. We like to think of it as planting seeds in a fertile soil, right? The seeds don't sprout overnight, we know that, but they take root. And over time, they grow into something solid, something that lasts, especially when we nurture them. So that's why Ericksonian hypnosis is so powerful, especially for people who overthink, who have that strong inner critic. And, let's be honest, we all have an inner critic, but some are stronger than others. Or for people who have tried to willpower their way through change and just found it exhausting. And of course, when we find things exhausting, we often give up. And we're like, oh, I just can't do that. It's not something that I can do. So, direct suggestion is like pushing. Ericksonian hypnosis is like inviting. And when you invite the unconscious to find its own solutions, the change doesn't just stick, it feels more natural, as if it was your decision all the way along.
Yes, and if you've listened to any of our hypnosis audios that are available on our website, then it's quite possible that you've already experienced this. You don't have to catch every word. Your unconscious is always listening. Even if you drift off to sleep, that's okay. In fact, sometimes the less your conscious mind interferes, then the more effective it can actually be.
That's right. Okay, so let's recap. We're talking about hypnosis. Hypnosis really is a natural state, a natural brain state that you already experience every single day, whether it be daydreaming, drifting off to sleep, zoning out as you're driving. Please be careful if you are listening to this while you're driving. Your brain already knows how to do it. All right. And it works for everyone who is willing to engage with it. So if you say, I can't be hypnotized, what you really mean is, I won't allow myself to follow along. And if you're in pain or you're stuck in a problem, then you've got to ask yourself, is there a hidden payoff? Is there a secondary gain for staying the same, for staying in pain, or for keeping this problem? Because if there is, that might be what is keeping you stuck. Used with intention, hypnosis bypasses that inner critic. It works directly with the unconscious mind, and it helps you rewire the beliefs and the habits that have potentially been holding you back. And that's why the change lasts. And most importantly, hypnosis isn't about losing control. It's about gaining it. It's about taking back control, putting yourself back in the driver's seat. It's about making your brain your greatest ally instead of your harshest critic.
Yes, and unfortunately, once again, that's all there is for this episode. But we hope that you've gained a very clearer understanding of what hypnosis is and how it could definitely work for you. If you have things that you'd like to change, this could well be the thing that would make it very achievable for you. So once again, thanks for listening to the Brain Changes podcast. If you know someone who still thinks hypnosis is mind control, please send them this episode. It may just provide a different perspective and offer them a solution that they may have been looking for.
Exactly. And please remember to follow and subscribe so you never miss an episode. Remember that leaving a review, it helps more than you realize. So we really appreciate you taking a moment to do that. So until next time, remember, when you change your mind, you change your life. Bye for now.
Bye, everyone.
Thanks for listening to this episode of The Brain Changes. We hope you've enjoyed the conversation today. Please like and subscribe to stay up to date with all the latest episodes. Our mission is to reach as many people as possible to help them revolutionize the way they think so they can change their brain and create profound transformation. Please help us broaden our reach by sharing this episode with someone you know will benefit. And remember to tag us on socials at Moonbeam Monday and leave a review. And remember, when you change your mind, you change your life. We'll catch you next time for another episode of The Brain Changes.